Right before we jump into this video, if you'd like me to send you a free guide to capturing motion in low light situations, just look for this orange box over on phronosphoto.com, put your name, email address in it, hit send it. I'm going to send you that guide for free. Jared Polin, phronosphoto.com, and this is a review of the Sigma 20mm to 200mm f3.5 to 6.3 DG contemporary lens. Now this lens is a full frame lens. You're not used to seeing the ultra wide to zoom on the full frame side. You're used to seeing that on crop sensor bodies only, but somehow Sigma was able to squeeze a 20mm to 200mm zoom into a full frame lens. This is a 10-time optical zoom, 20 to 200. Now I did say that it's part of the contemporary line. Sigma has 3 different lines: contemporary, more budget friendly, more lower end. The highest end they have is their art line of lenses, and then they have their sports line of lenses that are also high end, fast focusing pieces of glass, but this is part of the contemporary line. So what did I shoot with this lens? Well, I took it up to the US Open. Now, mind you, I did not have a photo credential to shoot the US Open from on the court like any other press media. I bought a ticket with my brother and a couple of friends, and we went up, and you're allowed to bring lenses up to 300mm into the tennis event, and I could float around on the outside and just shoot pictures and create. So I did not have any special access for any of the images that you are seeing. This lens is available for Sony E-mount as well as the
Mount Alliance.
Now, I know I said that it's a full frame lens, but if you are on a cropped sensor Sony camera or L-mount camera, this might be a very good option for you, as it's going to give you a roughly 28 to 300mm zoom, which is a very nice zoom, but the fact that it's 20mm to 200 full frame is still fantastic. But how does it feel in the hands, and what does the outside of the lens look like? Look, this is it. It is a pretty small, tiny lens. Now, mind you, it's small when it's not zoomed. It's at 20mm right now. But when you rectify it, it goes out to 200, and you can see that it basically doubles in size. So when it's collapsed at 20, this is how big it is, and when it goes out to 200, this is how it extends. Now, that doesn't really change the balance too much because it's not that heavy of a lens. We'll get into the weight in just a second. I just wanted to show you that that is what you get as you zoom. It does come with a lens hood right here. It's very small. It's not going to do that much. In fact, I didn't even know that the lens hood was in the box when I took it to New York. I didn't use it, and it was a super sunny day, but I didn't see any lens flare, so there was no issue there. In terms of the zoom throw, which means how easy is it to twist and zoom, it is a pretty tight lens, meaning I can't just sit there and turn my thumb and forefinger really quick. You actually have to exert some force to it. That's good in some ways and not great in others, because when you want to quickly do something, you might have to ratchet down a little more, which might cause a little bit more shake. Now, when I mention shake, this lens does not have any image stabilization built in. Now, some of the competitors from Tamron, which are 28 to 300, do have the image stabilization built in. This one, to keep it as small and probably keep the price down just a little bit, doesn't include that, but all the full frame Sony bodies at this point do have image stabilization in there. Now, that's not to give it a complete pass, because it is great when you have double stabilization, one in the lens and one in the body. Now, in terms of switches, you only have 2 switches here. You have your autofocus to manual focus, as well as a lock. So this lock is more so for when you're walking around like this, because it will creep a little. Let me go ahead and zoom it. You can zoom it and it unclicks it, which at first I thought was like, well, that doesn't make any sense. It's not that great of a lock, but it's really not meant to be a lock, like it's a big deal that you should have to switch it. It's just like when you're walking around, it could, as you shake, it could go ahead and creep. You can see that it's creeping right there, but the lock allows it to not creep when you're walking around, and then when you go right to zoom, you just click right through it, and it's not a problem at all. Now, in terms of filter threads, you have a 72mm lens cap, which means you have a 72mm filter thread if you are looking to put filters on this lens. It weighs in at 1.19 pounds or 540 grams. It is not heavy at all. Now, 20mm is pretty wide. We have this photo of my friend Keith right here. This was when we first got there. What's interesting is you can actually see the background is slightly out of focus. Now, I did get pretty close to Keith, but in terms of close focusing, you can get within 9.9 inches or 25 centimeters on the wide end, or within 25.6 inches or 65 centimeters when you are zoomed all the way out. Now, in terms of sharpness, man, I was really happy with the sharpness and color I got out of this lens. It looks very nice. Of course, I have a super nice, bright, sunny day, so that doesn't hurt at all. Let me jump in here real quick because I want to show you our custom Lightroom presets in action on this photo taken with the 20 to 200mm Sigma. Let's start with Brooklyn. We have C41, Copper Tone, High C, Kaleidoscope, Mel Brooks, Saltwater Taffy, Thick, and Wet Hot American Summer. But don't forget, we have multiple preset packs, and let me show you Fro Pack 3. We've got Mentos and Mount Airy. These are incredible for portraits, and even Eckert looks fantastic. But don't forget, exclusive and all new to Fro Pack 4, we have 4 custom adaptive Lightroom presets called Face Enhance, Full Body Skin Enhance, Eyes Only Enhance, and Background Blur. So look, if you want to speed up your raw workflow, give yourself a great starting point, or if you're just new to editing, this is going to help you out. You can see that our presets do not suck, and they work almost across the board. That's why we created 14 all-new custom Lightroom presets that you can check out right now at froknowsphoto.com/FroPack4. While you're over there, you can play with the sliders to see the befores and the afters, and if you decide to pick them up right now, they are currently on sale. Or if you want to get the Grand Slam bundle and save even more, you can get Fro Pack 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, let's get back to the video. Now let me show you the difference between 20 and 200. So we've got right here 20mm. This is 20mm up high, showing you a very nice wide angle. But when we zoom into 200 from the same exact spot, look at the shadows and look at how I'm filling the frame beautifully with this shot. Now keep in mind that this is a variable aperture lens. As you zoom, your aperture is changing. You are losing light as you zoom. At 20mm, you're at f3.5. At 22mm, already 22mm, that's only 2 more millimeters than 20 if my math is correct, you go to f4. 28mm, 4.5. f5 is at 37mm, 5.6 at 50, and from 85 and beyond, you're at 6.3. So what that means is you need to watch out that as you are zooming, you are losing light. So if you're in full auto, the camera's gonna do everything that it needs to do to compensate for that. In my case, I was shooting manual and just making sure that my exposure was right inside of the camera. So that's one of the things with mega zoom lenses that happens. You're not gonna get a fixed 2.8 all the way through. Now, one of the main selling points and differentiators about this lens is that 20mm. You can see here down low that I am nice and wide, getting a large part of the scene in here. I have both tennis players in there and both the full tennis court. At 28mm, you're not getting the same effect. Obviously, 20 is a lot wider than 28. It is really a solid option if you are traveling to Paris, if you wanted to get the whole Eiffel Tower and not be so far away, or anywhere that you travel, but you still want to reach out and grab the images at 200mm. Now, what I will say is I was really happy with the results that I got, and if you were looking at these images and I didn't tell you that they were taken with this camera, you would have never known that, one, I didn't have a photo pass to shoot the event, and two, you would have never have known that I shot it with this lens, because I think the images turned out extremely well. Now, in terms of separating the subject from the background, here's an example where I focused on the net with the Cadillac logo, and this is at f6.3 because I'm at 200mm, and no, the background subject isn't blown out as much as if I was shooting at 2.8. But if you get closer to your subject, the background is going to be more out of focus, especially if you're 200 millimeters at the close focusing distance. Yeah, the background is going to separate and it's going to look more professional. It can still be done with this type of lens. Since I just finished talking about the background blur, this lens has 9 aperture blades. But how is the autofocus? I will tell you the autofocus was super fast and super snappy because you have an HLA focus motor in this lens. That is the super fast focusing motor. Not once did I feel like I was being hindered by the autofocus of this lens because it kept up extremely well even with fast-paced action where subjects were running far, coming closer, and it stayed with them the whole time. Now with that being said, there are some limitations that you get with this lens, like when you are zooming, you cannot continuously focus while you are zooming through the range, and you do have a slight limitation when it comes to shooting at higher frame rates, but most people aren't putting this on a Sony A9 where you get 120 frames per second. It's still going to top out around that 15 frames per second, which is still a lot. Now, before we get to the price and who this lens is for, I do want to say that I was struggling a little bit when I first got there to find the images from my seat. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to just take pictures of people playing tennis. A tight picture of someone playing tennis is just a tight picture of someone playing tennis. It's old. But what ended up happening is I saw a shadow and I was like, that's what I need to focus on. I need to focus away from the match on the court and find the fans standing around and showing them at 20 millimeters. Or find the shadows of the person serving, because those shots end up being unique and interesting. Or going with a super slow shutter speed and trying to do some panning. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but it's something different than just freezing the action. The whole point here is that you can get creative with any type of lens, and even if you don't have the access. I had regular access like anybody else who could buy a ticket, and I think I came out with an amazing photo story of the day. Let me jump in here real quick and say, are you tired of your friends and family giving you feedback about your photos and all they say are thumbs up and fire emojis, and you want someone to actually tell you how good or bad your images are? Well, I have 2 different options where I will be your mentor. One is a 15-minute rapid fire critique, and the other is a live 45-minute mentorship Zoom call with me. Head on over to froknosphoto.com/mentorship because you can see examples of both of those and then decide which one might be right for you. Now, let's get back to the video. So how much is this lens? Well, it's right around $1,000, which is a little more expensive than you would think because the Tamron 28-300, which is 28-300, it gets a little more on the long end. That is an f4 to 7.1, is $899. They also make a 28-200, which is a 2.8 to 5.6, which is $800, and this one comes in at just around $1,000. I would say that the extra cost is most likely coming from the 20 millimeter side of it because that's wider, but also the build quality is very nice. You have the really good focus motor, but most of it is probably coming from the fact that it's 20 millimeters. Now, before I tell you who this is for and wrap this up, there are 2 extremely important tests to go over right now. Let's start with the wind tunnel test. Let's huff and puff and blow this bad boy down. Ooh, I'm sorry, but it's a fault in this case. It didn't pass the wind tunnel test. Let's see if it passes the sniff test. Here we go. Oh, I got it. You know what it smells like? Andre Agassi's hair in the Canon Rebel commercials from way back in the day. At the end of the day, who is this for? Look, if you're traveling and you're looking for that one lens to rule them all, which normally goes out to like 400, but never goes this wide, I think this is a great option. Why? Because none of them go to 20. Do I need longer than 200 for most things when you're traveling? And the answer to that is no. When I'm traveling, I don't even take a 70-200 anymore. So to have a 20-200 is great. It's not the fastest aperture in the world, but as you saw from my images, you wouldn't have known that this was done with a 6.3 or a variable aperture lens. Now, it may not be for everybody. If you need more reach, then maybe you're better off investing in a wide-angle lens and then a telephoto lens. But for a one lens to rule them all option that goes wide to 200, I think it's a really solid option. So it's something to consider for right around $1,000. Let me know what you guys think down below. Is this something that you would pick up? Where would you use it and why? Thank you very much for watching. Jared Polin for KnowsPhoto.com. See ya.